Welcome back to the second annual edition of the Throwback Paint Scheme preview or whatever. We did this last year, of course. I'm Casey Campbell, and we had to go all out. You know when we do this, we go all out and get this. We have to get the man, the myth, the legend. Michael Carey is here. Before we get into Throwback Paint Schemes, of course, you've been pretty busy these last few months. Of course, you have a new role with the SRX series, which is coming up here in just a few weeks.
Yeah, it's been a crazy couple months. I moved down to Mooresville, end of March, I believe, and it's just been whirlwind, man. Work's been very busy with SRX. I'm doing a lot of cool stuff that I can't wait for the fans to see what I've been up to. There's driver announcements, there's sponsor announcements. Heading up to June 18th, there's going to be a lot of stuff to look out for. So keep your eye on SRX social media.
Yeah, and you guys always seem we always know when news is coming. Either you guys tease it or Don Hawk teases it, or it's just fun to see you guys interact with all that stuff. So
it's called good marketing.
Yes, it is good marketing. Every good marketing person knows that. But let's get down to business. It is Throwback Week. We've got some paint schemes. We've got some hits, and we've got some misses, which should be interesting, to say the least. Let's start with this one. This is probably a lot of people were very shocked to see these two paint schemes dropped, but the Kyle Sykes does it again.
Yeah, I mean, the meaning behind these two cars is really cool because, Ty Norris, who works at Trackhouse, used to be a big part of DEI, and, Justin Marks, I think, is very appreciative of the history of the sport. And to see these two cars, I mean, this was back in the late 90s when NASCAR went to Japan. Yep. Two Coke cars, it was junior and senior. What's cool about these cars, actually, is, especially on that one car, there was a lot of recreation that had to happen. I talked to Kyle, and he said that unfortunately, a lot of the assets that were used in these cars were not available. So Kyle and somebody else over at Trackhouse, they had to actually, piece by piece recreate these cars, and they came out fantastic. I'm a huge fan of when paint schemes for throwback season, when they match the numbers perfectly, or at least in the ballpark. The 99 and the 1, those are not Trackhouse style. I mean, they're leaning forward, and Kyle had to recreate the 99 and the 1 in that style. The 1, a little controversial, I think, because that is a DEI 1, and they had to add the Trackhouse slash to it to avoid any possible legal uproar from a certain party. But at the end of the day, I mean, Kyle did a fantastic job with these. Trackhouse really hit it out of the park, and it was really cool to see on the Dale Jr. download. You had Justin Marks go on there to reveal these cars and surprise Dale, and they were speaking very highly of Kyle and Ryan at Junior Motorsports and designers in general. They're finally getting the recognition they deserve, and we have a long way to go still, for designers to be truly appreciated, but this is a great start.
Yeah, and absolutely. And by the way, also a little bit of teaser here, the designer of these cars will be on this show later on at some point down the road. Kyle Sykes did agree to an interview, so
that's a good get. Kyle's a good friend of mine. We talk almost every day. Whenever he's in town, we go out for a drink. Great guy. I mean, he started off designing a hero card for Casey Kane back in, I think, 2015 or 16. And now he's the director of creative and digital at Trackhouse doing stuff like this. I mean, his trajectory's been outstanding.
I got to get down to Charlotte.
It's fun.
It is. All right. And then just after these two were revealed yesterday, and the next one is these two. The thing is, the only two with top 2 Earnhardt schemes is 2 petty themed schemes, and this goes back to the 50s.
It does, and I had a couple people texting me. They're like, "Hey, do you know if RPM doing any throwback cars? Because we haven't heard anything." And I really like the fact that they waited until this late in the game. Like RCR, for example, I don't think they're doing any throwbacks, which blew my mind. But, for those of you who don't know, Petty GMS Racing has 2 designers. They have Brad Sison and Dick Clavico. Dick focuses more on GMS in the 42, and Brad focuses on the 43. And together, they've been doing an incredible job this season. And this is a perfect example. I mean, I love the fact that Focus Factor they're open to changing their brand guidelines for a one-off race, working with SRX, having to go along brand guidelines. It can be difficult at times, but when a brand's willing to say, you know what, you do it. Let's see what you got. And this is what happens when you let the designer design the car. I love the addition of the 43 on the front and the rear deck lid, harkening back to the convertible days. But overall, I mean, it's just these cars, RPM just always does a great job. And it's nice to see not an STP throwback. I think we kind of got a little old on those, but to see something totally new like this, Dick and Brad really did an outstanding job. And, especially on the 42 car, I mean, the petty GMS logo, that old style, Statesville, North Carolina, everything about these two cars just screams classic. And these are going to be remembered for a long time.
Absolutely. Yeah, these two are, I mean, when these two came out today, I was like, whoa, these are pretty good. And this was actually, of course, this was a collaboration where we don't really see a lot of this stuff. Of course, Brad Sisson, of course, who was with RPM, now Petty GMS, and Dick Clavico, I think, who goes by, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he used to go by another alias, if I'm not mistaken?
So he goes by DC2 Designs. I just call him Dick Clavico just because that's how I know him.
Yeah. Okay. I knew there was another name, so I just maybe people would recognize that, of course. Big credit to DC2 Designs and Brad Sisson for doing this. All right. We got another from more nostalgia, and well, that's nostalgia too. And we got how appropriate today. Of course, a Matt Kenseth throwback on the day he gets announced to the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
So again, this brand, to my knowledge, their colors are more blue and black, I think. Yeah. And this was cool because this was actually a fan vote, in a sense, with the sponsor. Right. And, that 17, we haven't seen that specific style 17, I believe, since 2012 when Kenseth last drove for Roush in the 17 car. And the fact that we get to see this again, and I know for a lot of Matt Kenseth fans, it's going to make them very happy. That fan base is very passionate about Matt. And overall, I mean, the whole car just looks, you can take the decals off the car and look at the base scheme, and you're going to know what that paint scheme is. And to me, that's the hallmark of a great paint scheme, is when you can take the number, the logos, take it all off, you give me the base design. If you can identify that car within 5 seconds, you made a very good design. I also like how this car, like with the additional logos, like the Fifth Third Bank, Fastenal, it's not crowded. Like that was, I think, a lot of concern with the new number placement, was like having too many decals. And for something clean throwback, the decals are not taken away from it. And again, that classic 17 is back.
Yeah, it is. And it's good to see. And especially the day he gets announced to the NASCAR Hall of Fame, it's good to see a Matt Kenseth style car back out on the racetrack. And of course, it's good to be seeing, and we'll get to see him a little bit this year, as he'll be in your world a little bit. So for a couple of races, so that'll be really cool. All right, well,
we got to spend time together for SRX Media Day, and he's a funny guy. We got some fun content we shot, and it's gonna be fun to show that off.
Yeah, it'll be fun. All right, what's next?
So this one I'm kind of in the middle about, but I made it a hit instead of a miss, because it would have been amazing to see Valvoline jump on, obviously, with the colors and everything. But I do give Ally a lot of credit, because, again, this is a company that is willing to throw out their brand guidelines for a one-off deal and have something like this. And they did it right. No pun intended. But, Bowman has been vocal before. He looks up to Mark Martin. It's a hero of his. And to see a car like this come back, I think is really, really neat. The only thing that's honestly really bugging me, and I think this is going to be addressed maybe next year, is the number placement with a paint scheme like this, because that 48 belongs in that red, and it's not in there. And me personally, it drives me nuts, because I feel like a lot of good throws got hurt by the number placement this year, and you're going to see why later on. But overall, like, the reason why I picked this was because Ally, again, They changed their brand guidelines, and this is a brand that has done it before. Jimmy Johnson with the 7-time car 2 years ago. Ally, that was not a traditional Ally branded car. That was a specially designed car, and Ally wanted to honor, Dale and Richard. So seeing the hood logo, for example, that's not in their brand guidelines probably, but Ally is okay with this and they're willing to do this. And when a sponsor takes that next step to do that, that's how you create a truly authentic throwback.
You were obviously that having you say that about number placement, of course, you were the biggest advocate of it. But yes.
I was a huge advocate for it, but I kind of had a feeling that when Throwback came around, what's NASCAR going to do? Hold the numbers, move them. And I think this is probably going to give teams the option next year, perhaps to put the number in the center of the door. Because honestly, I don't see the issue with it. I'm not with NASCAR. I just, that's above my pay grade. But if the number is moving back for one race, if you're spotting from a distance, a big difference. I don't know, but we'll have to just wait and see.
All right. Okay. What you got next? Oh, first Xfinity scheme.
So I gotta give Ethan Ball a lot of credit. He's put out a couple cars this year, and he sent me a message before saying, "I can't wait to show you this. This is how it's looking." And honestly, this was a great thing because this honors Warburton. And what's cool about this car, and the one thing I loved about it the most, was the number design. It matches what was like that font style of this car back in the day. It matches it almost perfectly. The colors, the design of the number. And again, this is a sponsor and a team willing to change their brand for a one-off weekend like this. To the traditional 27 for Al Motorsports, to me, it's not a attractive look in my opinion. I just, the 2 and the 7, it doesn't look right to me, but this looks amazing. Ethan's been an emerging designer this season and he's done a really good job. And, imagine having your second or third car is a throwback like this. And from an authenticity standpoint, I would pin this as one of the top dogs in Xfinity.
Absolutely. Should be a fun scheme. And of course, anytime you can get to throw back to your dad, it's always a fun thing. All right. What do we got next, everybody? Ooh.
So this, I believe, was Jason Leffler. Yeah, Jason Leffler.
Jason Leffler.
I don't think we've seen a net zero throwback yet. And for some of the younger fans, they're probably wondering, oh, what's net zero? And suddenly I feel old.
It's the internet company, I think.
Yeah, it was an internet company back in the early 2000s when there was AOL, Internet Explorer, Net Zero. Everybody kind of had their own hand in the internet, and then Net Zero. I don't know what happened to them personally, but Gene Haas and HaasTooling.com. This is another great example of having fun with Throwback Weekend. I mean, Gene Haas, and whenever he has Haas on the car, he's willing to change it up a lot from a branding standpoint. And it's cool to see a Jason Leffler throwback. Because keep in mind, too, Haas CNC Racing, I believe, had Net Zero as a sponsor. And this is a very personal throwback to Gene, probably. And with Jason Leffler. So this is one throwback, too, that with the new number placement, it looks good either way. Personally, I think it looks better here. But yeah, I mean, this was a car as a kid you remember seeing on the track all the time, but you didn't really understand it as a kid. And then you look back and you're like, I saw that car when I was 7 years old watching racing. And, to see a throwback like that is honestly really cool.
Yeah, it is. And I'm about the same age as you. So I do remember seeing this car on the track. And, even when Jack Sprague drove it back in like 2003, if you remember that. Or, I know Net Zero had like the Warburton when he drove it back in 2004, but yeah, this one's pretty cool. I don't think we've seen Leffler throwbacks in the past, but I don't think we've seen this one specifically. So
yeah, I don't think we've seen Net Zero yet, but what I like about this too is, the giant Z on the hood.
Yeah.
If you take that away, it's like, oh, scheme is it? It kind of gets lost in translation. When you keep a branding symbol like that, and you're free to use it, it really increases the the authenticity of the throwback.
Yeah, for sure. All right, what we got next? Ooh.
So this one ruffled some feathers because of the 6 and the blue circle behind the 6.
Yeah.
So Aaron Burnett designed this car and the 17 car.
Yep.
And I think when it comes to something like this, I know the first person people attack is the designer of the car. And 9 times out of 10, the designer has the car the correct way, and then the sponsor and the teams get a hold of it. But what I do applaud RFK Racing for doing is they actually fixed the circle. They posted on Twitter this morning that I think they moved the circle forward more. They made it smaller, but they made an adjustment to it because this was a throwback to, I believe, a Viagra car.
Yes.
And the 6 was inside the circle. Well, with a number placement, it's kind of hard to do that because the character lines of the car. So they made a change to the car. I'm not sure if the diecast will reflect that, but I give RFK Racing a lot of credit, and Aaron as well, for what he's done. It's very cool to see, that 6. We haven't seen that 6 in a little bit because, Brad changed the styling of the 6 this year with something that Aaron helped create. And now we get to see that Mark Martin 6 again is, what I kind of refer to as. But the car is great. And again, this is a brand that they're sponsoring both cars for RFK Racing, 2 totally different color palettes. And this is a very good example of authenticity on a throwback.
For sure. Yeah, this says this brings about, I think this was like 2004, 2005, if I'm not mistaken. So with this scheme. So yeah, good job by these guys. Next. Oh, this one was a pretty popular one. I like this one.
So this is a very good Redeemer throwback because yes. I believe it was the last season when Harrison Burton ran the Dex Imaging Holiday Inn throwback. It might have been last year or the year before.
Yes, yeah, he ran it last year when he was with Gibbs.
So one of my biggest pet peeves with throwbacks, well, there's 2. Incorrect number styling. And when you just take the base design and change the colors to fit that brand. So Eric Jones had this a couple years ago where he did a Tony Stewart throwback and the design was the same, but the colors were wrong. So Harrison Burton's last year, I think I even told you this, it was horrible. Like I just thought it was not a good car because they didn't match the colors.
Yeah. This
changes that. Dex Imaging, coincidentally enough, Dex Imaging was on that Holiday Inn car. And here they are, and they decide to change their colors to fit, this car that Jeff Burton ran years ago. And this helps the throwback immensely. If everything that was pink on this car was red, it would look way off. Yes, you know what car it is, but authenticity standpoint is incorrect. And this was a very popular car, honestly, one that nobody was expecting. But I think Harrison Burton, he's got a laundry list of paint schemes he could run about his father. And I'm praying one day we get a singular wireless throwback.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that'd be...
Not sure how that's going to work, because if the trademark is still copyrighted, you can't use it without permission, I think. But if it's free use, you never know.
We'll have to see. All right. Yeah, this one was pretty good. I think this goes back to when he ran it in around the late 90s or something. If I'm not mistaken. So I
do wish they changed the 21 into the style of the 99, but it's the Wood Brothers. I'll let it pass.
Yeah. No, if it was up to you, every car would be numbered 25 in the Casey Mears 2007 font. But that's just you.
I'm a simple man.
Yes, I know. What's next? Oh, you know what? I'm when I first saw this one, I'm like, holy crap, that's the original Burger King logo.
So this is Insurance King, in my opinion, is one of the best examples of a throwback weekend, because that's the Burger King logo, yes, but Insurance King changed Burger King to their logo. I mean, it makes sense with King and King, but, Ryan Pastana, he's a good friend of mine. He'll be my roommate actually in a couple weeks. This is a good time of year for him. He loves doing throwbacks, and This was a unique car that many people probably don't remember. I remember this car vividly because when I used to get Burger King around this time of year, like I remember seeing the car in advertisements and on the cups and everything. So this car, personally for me, brings me back a lot of memories when I was about 10 years old or so.
That was like 2005, 2006, because I remember that same thing.
Yeah.
I remember going into Burger King like when I was about a 10-year-old, and I was able to get that. And you always got. Did you get when you went to Burger King? Did you get like the one of those crown things like you always got?
I get them now.
Oh, that.
If I go to Burger King and there's crowns there, I ask for it.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's you. That's what it is. It's fun stuff. But yeah, I can't believe how they pulled it up because that's the original logo. How were they able to do that? That's my question.
It is, and I think sometimes with cases like these, um, a couple of the throwback schemes in the past, when I've talked to designers, sometimes I'm not saying Ryan did this, but other designers have done this where they'll take a logo like this, and honestly, they'll put the car out there and hope and pray there's no issue. There was a throwback last year in particular that had a similar thing like that, where the sponsor of the car they were thrown back to, they recreated the logo, didn't necessarily get the approval for it, but they put it out there, hoped and prayed nothing worked, and everything was fine, So I'm not sure if Insurance King got the blessing. I would assume they didn't, but that's just my assumption. Yeah. But again, maybe it's just let's put it out there and hope and pray it doesn't work. But even if you take those logos off the sides of the car, you could still tell what car this is.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing to get at Burger King?
Chicken fries.
Nice. How many times have you been to Bojangles since you've been to Morrisville?
Moving on.
Okay. I asked the hard questions, Michael Carey.
I know.
Yeah, I know. Okay. So this one is this is his 2016 throwback to Denny, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, this was his Daytona 500 winner. I believe it was the first for Toyota. And this one I like a lot because this was a scheme that translates very well to the new number placement and the new body styles. The only major change really besides the number is that the FedEx logo is now on a tilt. They skewed it to match the paint scheme design. But we haven't seen many angles of this car yet, just because this was the rendering that got put out there. But from the early looks of it, this is one of my favorite Denny Hamlin schemes ever, honestly. There's certain paint schemes that, you can see a paint scheme and you remember what race it was tied to. I see this design. The first thought I have is the 2016 Daytona 500. And this was one of my favorite cars because, even now, a lot of the FedEx cars, they've taken on a brighter design. This is back when they were doing black as their dominant color. And overall, I absolutely love this car. It's simple in design and it gets the point across very well.
It does. It's a cool, very cool scheme. What's next? Okay, so this one was, I know this was a bit controversial because the fans got to choose which scheme they were going to do, whether it was this scheme. I know a lot of people were pulling for the 2002 scheme. I believe the 2007 scheme, or I believe the 08 scheme.
Yeah.
But they went with this one. This was the first scheme that M&M's had, I believe, back in 1996 when Ernie Irvan drove it.
So M&M's has, such a rich history in NASCAR when it comes to design. Not really the winningest sponsor ever, especially in their early days, but once they got the JGR, that changed everything. You're changing the number. This is a good throwback for authenticity's sake. Personally, I was pulling for this one or the 2002 one. Maybe if M&M's is feeling generous, maybe we'll see another one. Who knows? But like I said, it's fun when a brand will go back in time like this, because they even brought back the classic characters. I mean, they could have made, the modern characters. They could have taken the modern characters and put them on the car, and they didn't. This is true to the original, and it looks great. I mean, it's not a very loud design, and again, that yellow, that specific hue of yellow, that's just what M&M's has always used, and Mars Company. It's a great design. I hope we get to see more Eminem throwbacks this year. Not sure, but you never know. I really hope we see his 2015 scheme at Homestead in the playoffs to honor the first championship with Toyota. But who knows?
That could be in the cards. You never know. All right.
Yeah.
What do we got next, Michael Carey? Oh, we saw this last year with Tyler Reddick when he threw back to this scheme, but now it's Corey LaJoie throwing back.
So the fun part about this car is it's promoting his podcast, Stacking Pennies. Yeah. And this is Corey's car. Like, his name's on the side. He's got his branding on the rear quarter panels. But one of my favorite parts about this car, this is, I believe, the first paint scheme in decades that's triple number. Yes, it's the 7 car, but it's got more numbers behind it. And to me, that's such a great detail that NASCAR is letting them go with this, because, you know, for authenticity's sake, again, this is the Marty Robbins throwback, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, if you can't do it exactly, do it as close and as best as you can. And this is the end result of that. I mean, I never thought we would ever see a triple number set ever again. But I think if NASCAR's willing to do that, they might become more lenient with some other things. And it's cool to see the car being about the driver, you know, and Corey's had a couple paint schemes like that. You know, we remember his face on the hood of his 32 car a couple years ago. You know, we get to see the car about the driver and something about the driver's branding. And this is, you know, a great example of that.
Yeah, Marty Robbins was. I saw. Of course, Tyler Reddick did this scheme last year, and it was a pretty good scheme. And now this is a pretty good one. So, all right, what do we got next? Oh, this one's Jeremy Clements hits it out of the park with another really good scheme.
And this ties back to Michael Maselli, race artist. You know, this is a great throwback to the Wrangler days. Michael does a lot of work for a lot of the mid-pack teams in Xfinity, and you know, when you get to kind of unleash your creativity like this, the end result is great. And you know, the 51 is huge. Like the number is ginormous on this car, and it's fun when a team, and a lot of smaller teams do this more, where they'll have more fun with number designs and the car design and things of that nature. Spartan Waste changed their, you know, the typography is in line with the Wrangler branding. This is just a very good example of a throwback trying to be as authentic as possible, it's a broken record, but that's such a key thing for me is authenticity to the original. And Michael did a fantastic job with this car. And at Darlington of all places, this is going to be a very fun car to see on the track.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be always, you know, I think there's a lot of, I mean, we've seen this scheme. I don't know how many we've seen this scheme done a couple of times, but it doesn't matter how many times it does it. It's always really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, you know, it's a simple car too. It's 2 colors, 2 shapes really on either side. Mm-hmm. This is an easy car to do, and it's sure to be a fan favorite when it comes to voting time.
For sure. All right, what we got next? Oh, I mean, it was only a matter of time before we got a Junior Motorsports scheme on there.
Hands down, one of the best throwbacks in Xfinity I have ever seen, without question.
Well, you know who did it, right?
I know who did it. Ryan Williams. Whenever it's throwback season, Junior Motorsports and Ryan Williams have a field day with this stuff. And you can ask him this. I've been begging him for years to please convince Dale Jr. to do a forward-leaning 8 on the driver's door. Just one time or the full season, whatever you want to do. It looks perfect. Like, it fits on the door so well. And Ryan had to quite literally recreate an entire race car. Like, from, you know, this was a Looney Tunes throwback. You can't use any of those. You can't use that IP. So he had to go in and custom create his own characters for this. And from an artistic standpoint and a design standpoint, this is one of the best throwbacks I've ever seen when it comes to detail. I mean, here's something that a lot of people didn't notice. The rear deck lid on the car, right down here, was Bunny before. Now it has a Lucky Rabbit's tail.
Yeah.
Like, it's just Ryan thought of this stuff. And to me, it's like, I wouldn't think of that. And, throwback season for junior motorsports, it's always an extremely fun time of year. And I know Dale Jr. has a lot of fun with this stuff. Him and Ryan work together. But this, hands down, like I said, this is, if we're talking top 5 Xfinity throwbacks ever, this is in the top 3, without a doubt.
Well, they have to defend their title from last year because, of course, me personally crown the 7 car, of course, Justin Allgaier's throwback from last year. Remember the Good Humor Bar throwback scheme.
Yeah.
That personally won it for me. It was a battle between that and the Gatorade scheme that Michael Annette drove. So, my goodness, this one's up there. This one's up there up for consideration for
100%.
for throwback, Xfinity throwback, and overall throwback of the year. So, well, I'll award those later on in the week. All right, what's next?
So this is for Our Motorsports honoring Mark Martin. Sean McGee put this car together.
Yeah.
And one of the things I love about this car is that 02. It's designed in a very similar fashion to the way it looked on Mark Martin's car.
Mm-hmm.
And, they're 2 for 2 right now with recreating old style numbers for throwback weekend. And half off wholesales, a new sponsor to the sport. The fact that they're willing to hop it on this stuff and like, yeah, let's actually do this. Like, let's go all out. Let's see what we can do. And Sean has a lot of fun with this sort of stuff. I loved this paint scheme when Mark ran it. It's simple, it's clean, and some paint schemes just scream classic. And this is one of those examples. And it's always kind of fun to see what Sean proposes or comes up with for throwback season. And this is one of, I think, the best schemes he's done since he's been a designer. For
sure. Yeah, I mean, there's the Our Motorsports schemes have hit it out of the park, and I just saw Anthony Alfredo's too. So it's, of course, he'll be throwing it back to Tom. You remember the old Hills Bros car? Yeah, that'll be fun. All right, what we got next?
So we're getting to the end here. This came from Noah Sweet, known as Left. I'm pretty sure Noah designed this car. Yes. I know we did the render work for it. Yes. This is a throwback to Travis Pastrana when he was in the 99 car in the Xfinity Series. Yeah, and Noah just did, if you pay attention to the background on the car, like the faded logos, he did a lot of nods to Carson Hocevar in that, like, the vote for Pedro. He said he hit a lot of cool Easter eggs in here, and I haven't found them all yet, but Noah is one of the best young designers emerging in the sport right now. He's very well known on social media. He's pumping out renders like I changed my socks. It's crazy. But he's been doing a lot of cool work this season, render wise and design wise. And Nice Motorsports, that's a team that loves to get really into the throwback season. And again, you have a sponsor that wants to do it. And this is kind of like one of the one-off cars. Like, I vaguely remember that car design, and then you remember, oh, that's from Travis Pastrana, with Boost Mobile. But yeah, I mean, from a creative standpoint, Noah spent a lot of time with this car, he said, and I love the Easter eggs he put in the car as like sort of like a modern take on the design. Yeah, I mean, everyone likes to throw in a bunch of stuff in there, and of course, as Noah Carson's very creative in how he likes his throwback scene. So this is a good one. He's had 2 good ones in a row, because of course he had Johnny Benson's throwbacks, the old Valvoline scheme last year. So yeah, we've had some. And I just wonder how big his closet is getting with all those hats he has. Every week he's got a new hat, and it's just. Yeah, it's of course the last time we had Carson on, awkwardly enough, it was on April Fool's Day. So we had him put on. So I asked him to put on one of the hats for April Fool's. So he put on the sombrero. Nice. That was fun. Good stuff. Actually, you know what? 3 proud natives of the state of Michigan. Of course, Lefty, Carson, and then myself. So good stuff. There you go. Yeah, man. We represent big time. I know. Of course, you're proud Philly. So, yeah. Amen. Yes, sir. Go Sixers, by the way. Ooh.
I like this one.
So this was one that kind of got swept under the rug a little bit. I feel like it kind of got lost in the shuffle. I'm going to go up. So it's honoring Jack Johnson. And this was done by Kyle Williams over at the Decal Source.
Yep.
And this is not the Halmar freezing car we're used to seeing. We're used to seeing blue and we're seeing red. This is blaze orange. Like, it's loud. I'm surprised, and I guess we'll see if this passes NASCAR's approval process at the track. The gradient number, it's beautiful. I love the gradient number on this design. It's authentic to the original. But, you know, I've talked to a couple designers this year, and there's been a trend almost of sorts where NASCAR will approve like certain numbers or certain designs, and they get to the track and never mind, we got to change this. And some designers have been vocal about that on Twitter. I really sincerely hope that we see this gradient stay, because I think it's gorgeous. And, you know, a trick I always do is I cross my eyes, and if I can still read the number, to me, it's okay. To NASCAR, you know, they have their own rules and for the sanctioning body, but this is a throwback that's truly going to stand out in the truck series. It seems like there's not as many truck throwbacks this year as I thought there would be, but you know, Kyle Williams always does a fantastic job, and he's been very busy with Toyota, working on multiple paint schemes this year for them. So this is one of his best ones yet.
All right. What is next as I walk and talk as my laptop may be about to die? You know, I was wondering if that throwback scheme would get on there.
You know it's going to get on here. So this was Royalty Graphics put this together for Ryan Vargas. This is thrown back to Jeff Gordon in the Busch Series days in the 24 Pepsi car. One of the things I love about this car is, you know, Monarch Roofing. They created a new logo for 15-year anniversary. And it looks like it looks great. I mean, that logo alone should have been a giveaway of what the car was going to be for Throwback Weekend. But, you know, I absolutely loved the fact that, you know, this graphic also has a Sam Bass logo on it. You know, Sam did a lot of work for Jeff. And it's kind of funny to see. It's such a simple car. Like, it's blue, slight gradient, but that's how it was back, you know, when Jeff Gordon ran this car. And I love the fact that the 6 also carries over, like, the inside, the inner stroke. And, you know, Royalty's been pumping out a lot of great schemes this year, a lot of great concepts too. And, you know, it seems like he's got his footing down pretty good. And the reveal video was fantastic. I don't know if you saw it or not, but Ryan Vargas has one of the best personalities in the garage area, in my opinion. Absolutely. When it comes to social media. He's got a good grip on, you know, what fans want to see, and he's not afraid to just let his personality show. And that's something I think more drivers, especially in the Cup Series, they need to show that. Like, they need to show their personality more. And guys like Noah Gragson, Ryan Vargas, you know, that personality is there. And this might be the next wave of talent and personalities that the sport needs.
Yeah, obviously. You know, Ryan's a good guy. I've known him for a long time. Good friend of mine. It's always good to see this scheme. When it was got teased, somebody teased it that it was this one, and sure enough, it was this. Good stuff there. What we got next?
So this is the last one.
I was wondering if this one was going to get on there. Of course, this is Ty Gibbs's throwback to the Bobby Labonte scheme. I was wondering when this. I don't think this scheme has been done yet. I don't think so.
I don't think it has. I could be wrong, but you know, it's cool to see that Interstate Batteries, you know, they've been with JGR since the very beginning.
Yeah.
That they're willing to do this sort of stuff with them, and you know, it's so cool to see this scheme come back into the mix. As a kid, and this is gonna sound really weird, I used to play NASCAR Thunder 2003 all the time, and it always felt like this car, this design was beating me at every single race. Either that or I sucked at playing the game as a kid. So this car makes me angry in that sense, but you know, it's so cool to see this car come back in this design. You know, this is a classic Bobby Labonte car. I know a lot of fans are going to be excited to see this on track, and you know, it's Ty Gibbs. He might park that thing in victory lane, and a lot of fans are going to be upset about it probably, but you know, it would be very cool to see this design park it in victory lane at Darlington. That would be a very cool thing to see, and I think a lot of fans will maybe push their judgment of Ty Gibbs aside to see this car in victory lane.
Right. Maybe I do believe they might bring back the fire suit from that era as well. So
To me, that's as authentic as you can get. If you bring the car back and the fire suit, the helmet design, that adds a whole new the throwback weekend, and I'm all for that sort of stuff.
all right. Okay, so we've seen all the good ones. Now we must go to that one, and oh no, I knew that would. We'll get to the. Yeah, we'll get to.
Give me one. There we go.
We will get to that one in a minute. And I think I know you and I talked about a certain one that's on there, but we'll get to. I think you might have saved the best for last.
So
this one. Let's start with Chase Elliott's Napa scheme.
here's my thing.
Okay.
I don't hate any of these cars.
No.
I just have some critiques about them.
All right.
And the big thing about this car is the Napa logo on the side is in the wrong space. It should be in that blue strip going from the seat post down to the side skirts.
Yeah.
I understand why they did it this way, because if you take that and move it over, there's just an awkward gap in the middle. The number should go there, but it's not. And it bothers me just because it's authentic 98% of the way. But that one spot to me kills it, because when you see pictures of this car, the Napa logo is in that blue strip, and now it's not. So that's my only gripe with this car. Hopefully that 9, I think on the original car, that 9 was chrome or reflective. Hopefully it's the same way when they get to Darlington and it's not just painted or wrapped. But that was my big gripe with this, was just the Napa logo's in the wrong spot. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. What's next? Oh, geez. This one I knew would get on there.
So
Bill Elliott throwback that Kurt Busch is doing.
Personally, I was never a fan of the scheme to begin with, like when Bill ran it.
Yeah.
But see, it's Monster. Monster has very specific branding on the car. They need to have a certain amount of black space around the logos, no matter what. You know, if you ever look at, a couple Kurt Busch cars, whenever Monster's an associate sponsor on the car, they might have a nice, like there was a throwback a couple years ago that Kurt did, where he threw it back to, I think he had a 67 Camaro in that orange finish with Chevy accessories on the car when he was a Ganassi. The car was beautiful, but it had this ugly box on it with the Monster logo in it. And when the diecast got printed, that box was there, but the logo wasn't. So I understand Monster's brand guidelines, but it's just like, you just wish that whole car was red.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that, and the fact that, like, the scheme for me just never really did it. Like, it just never really had a thing with me. It would have been cool to see, another one from his days in the 94 car. But, I mean, I'm glad to see that Monster, or that McDonald's is with Kurt, and that McDonald's is willing to, have fun with the throwback game this year. It's just the back 10% of that car, the black, I wouldn't say it ruins it, but again, authenticity standpoint, I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me.
All right, let's get to the next one. Oh, geez. This one, I think this one got a lot of people.
I love the cause they're going after.
Oh, of course.
I love that.
Yeah.
My big thing was they called this a throwback to his 2011 car, and the design is not remotely similar at all.
Right.
This could have been a car you ran in October, for example, for Breast Cancer Awareness Month or something along those lines.
Yeah.
It just bothers me because they called it a throwback to his race in 2011 with the pink car. Design doesn't match, sponsor matches, but that's the thing. It's like, okay, it's the same sponsor, same color, but the base design is totally wrong. Perhaps there was an issue with Ream where they couldn't use that specific design. I have no idea. Again, I got nothing against the cause they're going after with this car. I think it's a great cause, but to call it a throwback and not match the car remotely, and you're throwing back to a moment,
Yeah.
it's not a throwback. I mean, it's the same thing like when last season when I think JTG ran that Tide car.
Yeah.
They said it was a throwback. To what? You have the sponsor on the side of the car. That's great. It's not a throwback because there was nothing before it that it could throw back to. It's totally wrong. I don't know. I wish we could have seen even like making the forward leaning like the RCR, just something to give it that throwback feeling. It just doesn't have it. And this is Ream's 500th race, it says.
Yeah.
I mean, they could have done something even bigger for Throwback Weekend and maybe save this car for another race. But I mean, I can't imagine it's going to get a lot of TV time because, throwbacks, NBC did a great job with this where whenever there's a throwback on track, they made sure to hit every car at some point in the broadcast and show what they're throwing back to. Right. This car, unless Harvick's dominating the race, probably will not get a lot of attention.
Yeah. And of course, now with practice and qualifying back, it'll give more time to showcase a lot of these almost all of these. So because it looks like every car is going to be on track.
Yeah, and again, like I have zero, like I fully support the sponsorship initiative they're doing with St. Jude. It's just calling this a throwback. I wouldn't go that far.
All right. What's next? Oh, geez, this one. I don't even know what it's throwing back to.
So neither did I. I had to focus on it for a minute. It's thrown back to Rusty Wallace. And again, I said this with the Harrison Burton car from a couple years ago. Base design, accurate. Colors, way off. This was blue, silver, and I think accented in gold or yellow.
What is this throwing back to again?
So Rusty Wallace ran a design like this. I believe it was 2005 with Miller Lite at Penske.
Yeah.
So again, you didn't know where this car came from. To me, that is a sign of a bad throwback. It's also kind of lazy in a sense. I mean, if you're going to do a throwback the proper way, change the color for one race. I mean, it's not like we haven't seen Menards change the color before on a rare occasion. But again, brand guidelines call them to play with this sort of stuff. Menards wants to maybe do a throwback, but it has to be yellow. Okay, please both parties, but whoever designed the car, I'm not dogging them for it. It 9 times out of 10, the designer came up with what was accurate, and then brand guidelines, sponsors, and teams come into play, and that changes everything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who to play with this one, but yeah, it's I just don't see it. It's like, I think it's just like a regular scheme or something. No, that's the thing. No offense against Team Penske, right?
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is you didn't know where this car even came from, and I think a lot of fans I don't really think they even did like a big reveal for this because this got leaked out first. This car, Graf's car, Kurt Busch's car, and Bubba's car, they all got leaked out early, or not leaked out, but they got posted on Darlington's website for voting. Apparently there was a deadline and the teams just didn't reveal the cars yet. And it got out there and people were kind of like, what? Like, this is it? Like, this is the throwback? Again, like brand guidelines probably had something to do with this car, but to me, if you're gonna throw back to it, like, it's Rusty Wallace. Like, fans know him as the Midnight car or blue Miller Lite. So I don't know. It just doesn't do it.
All right. What's next? Oh.
So what shocked me about this was that I believe this is one of the first times in the throwback era we're seeing a car like this, like a design like this. Mm-hmm. The big thing for me is the number. Dale Earnhardt's 3 with this design. Maybe there's a reason why they couldn't skew it forward, but it's a hard miss for me because even when Dale Jr. ran this car back in 2006, when DEI had the 5-year, they did all their cars for the weekend this style, all the numbers leaned the right way. And I wonder if maybe Josh Rayome and Rayome Brothers Racing, did they try it that way? I don't know. A lot of times you can, I've heard from some people that if you're going to throw back to a specific driver or sponsor, sometimes they have to approve it. So perhaps they put this in front of RC and he said, well, I liked it, but the number has to lean that way. Okay, maybe that's the case. But I don't know. To me, if you can't do a throwback as authentic as possible, I wouldn't even do one. Me personally. But I would love to see if that 33 was leaning forward, it'd be perfect. But it's just not it.
All right. What's next? This is the same exact one from last year.
So this is a throwback to Safelite Auto Glass repair vans. So I believe it was 10 years ago or so. Safelite's vans were actually white, and you might see some on the road still today. They were white, like designed like this, and that's how the current Safelite trucks is designed, right. I believe.
This was the same exact one last year.
That's the thing. Like when you recycle throwbacks, to me, it just looks kind of lazy. I mean, they could have done a Kyle Busch throwback or something. I mean, but Safelite really utilizes their logo well. Like that's the paint scheme. It's their logo blown up, put on the door. That's their paint scheme. Yeah. I understand why they did it this way, but again, it's just you have a driver with so much history in NASCAR who could be leaving Joe Gibbs Racing. We don't know yet because of his contract.
Yeah.
You could have some really serious fun with this. And you have the 18 too. Yeah. You can do something really authentic and really well. And to me, this was just a dud, in my opinion. I just wish more teams had fun with this stuff, but not everybody does.
Okay.
So, I don't think KBM's doing any throwbacks this year, actually. I know John Hunter has a new car, Mobile One. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, this one's gonna make this next one. Oh boy. Okay. So before you start, I know that you and I talked about on the show last year, and you and I have had several conversations over the last year since I've known you about when we would see this particular throwback. Of course, the new look from 2001, Jeff Gordon. Okay, and you told me when this first came out, you didn't like it. Why?
Now, preface this.
Okay.
I grew up huge Gordon fan.
Yeah.
If it was not for this car, this design, and the Rainbow Warrior car, I would not be in NASCAR right now, or in racing right now. Right. The biggest gripe with this car, actually there's two. This is a car that needs to have that number in the center of the door for this to work. Yeah. Has to, in my opinion. Because it just looks like the flames, they get really skinny, and that's probably a detail you never noticed because the number was so big and it blocked off a lot of that space. Yeah. So to me, it's kind of like I had to actually go back and double check if the flames were accurate. And to a degree, they were. And the other big thing for me was the hood logo. Mm-hmm. Fans, like the flames on the hood were designed to accompany the DuPont logo. Now, yeah, you can't have the DuPont logo because Axalta is no longer with DuPont. The paint division got sold off in 2013. So I just wonder what stopped them from doing the oval logo in Axalta. I've seen 1,000 concepts that nail it better than what this came out to be. I sincerely wish that this throwback was done with the numbers on the door. Because it's like fans were excited about it. I was excited about it. But looking at it more and more, it's just kind of like the flames look way too they're like spaghetti almost. They're just way too stringy. The hood logo is not accurate. I don't know. I was disappointed when this car got revealed because for such a historic paint scheme,
Yeah.
like arguably one of the two paint schemes that defined Jeff Gordon. And they couldn't do the oval logo on the hood, and they, the number is in the wrong spot with this car. It just looks like the gap between the number and Exalta is something. It just looks naked. It just looks weird, in my opinion. It makes me like, honestly, like gives me agita. But I'm hoping and praying that maybe, I guess, Xfinity at this point, that in the near future we'll see a car like this with the oval hood, with the number, with the number on the door.
Right.
I don't know. I was looking so forward to this car, and I love this design because it's Sam Bass and what it means to me, but it's like the execution on this just to me just was not it. I would have loved to have seen this last year with the number in the right spot, but I don't know. It makes me wonder why we waited this long to put this car on track, because fans have been begging for it for years. We've seen the Rainbow Warrior enough. I'm tired of seeing that car as much as I love it. This is a car that I think fans really wanted to see, and we have it now. But from my standpoint and in my personal opinion, the execution just was not there at all. So hoping and praying maybe someone, I guess Xfinity is the closest thing to this now, that somebody in Xfinity will throw back to this and do it the right way. I don't know. It's it was disappointing in my opinion, but not my call.
All right. Ah, man. Well,
So
that was the second edition of Throwback Schemes. Michael, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and doing this again. Really, really appreciate it, especially with your busy schedule that you have with SRX. We'll definitely have you on again sometime, maybe before the season starts, and kind of take you in a little bit more. I know you got some more exciting announcements that you got planned, so we'll let you get back to that. But Michael, really, really appreciate you coming on and talking about one of your favorite all-time subjects. And that's
man, it's a lot of fun, and it's fun talking to you. I'm sure before the season starts, SRX, we'll get together and we'll preview the season. We got a lot of fun stuff coming, content-wise, design-wise, graphic-wise, video-wise. I'll be behind it all. So it's gonna be a lot of fun for sure.
Good stuff. All right. Thanks, man.
All right, Casey.